Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns, the podcast where three self-appointed experts review a film or franchise and then try and come up with a decent idea for a sequel. This week, we take on the Tomb Raider films and desperately try to find something interesting about them. This episode contains spoilers for Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, Kingsman, and Dark Star. Enjoy.
Hello, yes, today we are talking about Tomb Raider, the Angelina Jolie films, and we're going to cover a bit of the game series as well. I'm Calvin, and with me are Sol.
Hello, boys. Do you like my pointy boobs?
And Alan.
Good evening!
Was that your Leslie Phillips?
No, it's just a callback to Clockwork Orange.
Right. Right.
For no reason.
So, yeah, we're going to look at the Tomb Raider films in anticipation of the latest installment in the film series, which is coming out this week. But I think we should probably start. This is only the second video game episode I believe we've done. We covered... Third? Oh, okay. Kind of. Well, we covered Super Mario. What else have we done?
Resident Evil.
Oh, of course. Yes. Which I'm sure we're going to have some comparisons with. Perhaps.
Yeah.
So, Tomb Raider the games. Have you guys ever played any of them? I have memories myself of being, 10 years old or whatever when the PlayStation was first coming out, and Tomb Raider was this huge, cultural phenomenon for a while. And it was one of the few games that my dad did not allow me to play because the person in the shop when we were buying the PlayStation and an assortment of 5 games made a point of pointing at me and saying he cannot play this until he is 15. So I didn't play it until I was 15. Tomb Raider 2
That's why you're gay now.
Yeah,
was
probably.
Was it like a 15 game like they do, or was it just his particular opinion?
Oh,
to one look at you and go, he's not ready for this kind of stimulus.
It was rated. So yeah, but I must say, having played it in the end, it was there's a bit of violence.
Tame from what I've seen,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, my friends and stuff had it, and I was aware of it. I was obviously exposed to it from pop culture and seeing advertisements and stuff, but I'd never properly sat down and played it. But I bought the original game in a charity shop a while ago and sat down and tried to play it, and I gave up pretty quickly, to be honest. It's... maybe it's just a product of its time, but it was very slow and very uninteresting.
Oh yeah, I think part of that is just the fact that it is a product of its time. But also, the most recent one I've played was Tomb Raider Underworld, which I think came out in 2008 or something, so it's quite a while ago now. I'm certainly not a huge fan of the series, but that played much better than I remember Tomb Raider 2 playing, which I mostly spent on the training level where you could just sort of run around her country home and trap the butler in the fridge. That
I forgot about trapping the butler. Everyone loved doing that.
Everyone loved that. But yeah, a lot of the games are to do with puzzle solving, and I think a part of one of the main tropes of the games is that they will lock you in a room and you have to kind of figure out how to get out by going over there and collecting this and doing that and all these puzzle things, and I don't really have the patience for that sort of thing.
I'm fine with that if it's more fun, but certainly as much as I played from the first game, it was just jump here to there, but the controls are really difficult, so it's going to take you 5 hours because it's so clunky. Now just hold down shoot at this bear and she'll kind of automatically aim the gun at it. And
especially a lot of those, on those early PlayStation controllers before they even had the analog stick, where it's just impossible.
And then walk over there, but it's going to take 5 minutes, and you just have to sit there whilst she goes with a footprint. And
yeah,
I have memories of being at a friend's house, and he was playing it on the computer, It must have been a PC version, actually, because he was just zooming in on Lara Croft's triangle boobs as she was floating in the water. He'd found a specific spot where he could kind of get the camera right in on them, and he was just there for like 10 minutes going, "Whoa, look at those!" Whoa. And then his dad came in and looked at him and just went, "They're pixels," and walked out. And his dad recently left his mother because he's been living a lie as a homosexual.
Okay.
So,
and you think those events are connected then? I think it was the
there
pixels
seems to be a pattern
that
for me,
put him
doesn't
off.
there?
Alan, do you have any experience with the video games?
No.
Was it a big thing? Because, I think me and Sol were probably both slightly too young to be the target audience for the games when they first came out, whereas I think you'll have been pretty perfect. You'll have been a teenage lad.
I do remember triangular boobs. That seems to ring a bell. Was it if you jumped off something high when she landed, she'd go, "Ah"? Was that a thing?
Oh, yes.
Was that
That's
yeah. See, it's something in my memory.
And if she drowns as well, she goes, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I was never a gamer. I've never have been. But I don't specifically remember this game really. I don't remember seeing the film at the time, but I remember it coming out and it being a big thing, and it was quite a big publicity thing at the time. And they found this actress to play Lara Croft, who turned out to be Angelina Jolie, although nobody knew who she was at the time really.
So they're not.
She wasn't a big star or anything like that.
I guess she'll have been known. I mean, she was John Voight's daughter, and she'd certainly been in stuff, hadn't she?
Yeah, she'd done all sorts of films that I've seen certain clips from. Gia, I've seen bits of that.
I see what Alan means, though. I guess she certainly wasn't the Angelina Jolie that she is now, and she wasn't the huge mega superstar that she became.
No, fair enough. No, it was a bit later in her career than I thought, actually. She did Girl Interrupted, which she was Oscar nominated for. She'd been in Pushing Tin, where she met Billy Bob Thornton. Hackers, where she met what's his name, Johnny Lee Miller. The Bone Collector, that was quite a big film. I think I was a bit wrong there. I think definitely she was not just. This wasn't just like look, we'll sell this on the game so we can get a nobody in. She was definitely a kind of known entity.
And pretty perfect casting for the time, I would say. I don't think you could have done much better than Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft.
Yeah. You guys know I like Angelina Jolie, right?
Yes.
Well, in 2001, fair enough. Do you like her now?
Yeah.
What's wrong with her now?
She's old.
10 years older, 20
She's
years older.
42.
Yeah.
She looks every day of it, though, doesn't she?
Well, to be honest, what I'm getting at is, like, Angelina Jolie, I used to be, like, obsessed with. I was like, that's, like, my perfect woman. She's the best. This is sort of teenage circa... I guess when these films were coming out, really, that I was, like, properly into her. And that must have been a bit later, actually, like 2005 or something. But when I went back and watched this film, I was sort of like, I don't really see it. I don't get it.
Oh.
Not that into it anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh.
Certainly not in Tomb Raider. Lara Croft : Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, very annoying title. I guess that's because like the Lara Croft name had become as synonymous with the brand as Tomb Raider. So
yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's more annoying for the next one, which is Lara Croft Tomb Raider : The Cradle of Life. So I remember the movie being quite a big deal around the time. I remember just being fresh in high school, I think, in 2001. So it was. Oh, no, it was summer of 2001, wasn't it? So just before high school. But I remember it being a big event, and I remember going to the cinema to see it. But this was only the second time I'd ever seen it in preparation for this podcast. And it was interesting revisiting it, and how a lot of the elements of the second one I'd blended in with this one. I guess we'll talk about it as we go through. But...
absolutely. No, I had the same exact experience, actually.
Yeah.
My memory was that this was always kind of like... vaguely passable nonsense. A lot of it's just so of its time, it's unreal. Like, for example, you can tell The Matrix had just come out, like, the year before.
Yeah.
Well, I watched them both a couple of weeks ago or whatever in preparation for this. I'm struggling to remember anything about them already. I made quite a lot of notes about the first one, so I should be alright with that one. But the second one has just got 2 notes, and then I just gave up because it was the same thing. So you might have to help me through on that one. But it was pretty. instantly forgettable stuff, which I don't think is necessarily a terrible thing with this kind of film, but I don't think it lends itself well to posterity. Well, if I can start, I've got notes on this. I've got to start about the very opening sequence.
Right,
with the robot.
Yeah.
It's a training sequence.
Yes, which it's not immediately obvious that it's a training sequence, but then it's like, oh, she's destroying a lot of old shit here. I bet this isn't real. Yeah, I put a note that if I had to, like, say aliens came down and said we want to know exactly what encapsulates art and culture of Western civilization in 1997, I'd show them the opening sequence of this film.
This film was out in 2001.
That fact is not lost on me, and I think it's very telling. This just really summed up. This just said 1997 to me. Yeah, it screamed it, in fact. And my immediate thought, and I think this is something that I want to put out straight away because it was so obvious throughout the whole thing, was that this really felt like The Mummy, but without any charm or personality. But it really had that exact same feel in terms of what it was trying to do. And just not doing it as well.
Here is that it's like it's put together like the Resident Evil movies, but if they were competently directed and shot. Ooh. So I think we're sort of I think we're coming to the same
on the
point
scale of Resident Evil to The Mummy.
Well, I guess I'd come down the middle of that. I think it's a bit of both. Indiana Jones meets Resident Evil was my sort of comparable. One of the things that really reminded me of Resident Evil, and this is a broader point, the musical score for this first film, I thought was absolutely terrible.
I agree. That's what I meant when I was saying you can tell The Matrix had come out a couple of years earlier.
Did The Matrix have a similar score to this? It's been a long time since I've seen those films.
Yeah, it's that kind of like electronic, techno-y, like, thinks it's really cool, so of the 90s. Yeah.
Like, it's not even... Yeah. It just feels like someone's playing temp music over the film. Because the music itself isn't punctuating any movement or action or anything like that. It's just playing and it's just sort of like a drone over the action. But, I don't think this is as fun as either Resident Evil or the Mummy films.
It's certainly not. And one of the big failings here is the dialogue. And the personalities of the characters, they don't have any. Right at the beginning, we see the butler, who's played by Chris Barry, and then the gadget boy, who is played by what's his name?
Noah Taylor.
Who you see in quite a lot of things. He's generally quite good. Chris Barry, one of the top British TV comedy actors certainly of the 90s. So that should be so much better. All that little everything between them should be snappy, witty. It should be. Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and the Scottish one.
John Hannah.
Yes, it should be like that, but it's not. And it's so flat. And this is, this is in general the whole failing with it. Same with Daniel Craig later on. It's just, and I think that's got to come down to the writer, really.
Oh, I completely agree. As far as the cast goes, I forgot about like how many known faces were in this, and good talent as well. Even bloody Leslie Phillips turns up later on. It's a delight to see.
I was thinking, God, he looks old, and this is like 17 years ago.
I did wonder why there just wasn't the one butler character, and he could just sort of do everything, but maybe that makes her too much like Batman?
Yeah. I assume it's like there's two of them in the game.
Not as far as I'm aware. The only games that around this time that I would play had the butler, but the butler was like this super old, like, octogenarian carrying a tray around.
Yeah, you're right.
He was not the sort of, relatively youngish Chris Barry.
And there's just little they try and one little thing with the Noah Taylor character to give him some sort of personality, and it's that he lives in a caravan rather than the house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as deep as it gets, as far as it goes. And I just assumed like that's going to be something from the game, like you have to go to the caravan and and get gadgets from him before you go on a mission or whatever. And apparently not.
So should we talk a bit about the plot or what there is of it? The planets are aligning, right? And Lara Croft needs to go and find a key to something before the Illuminati do, because why does she need to find it before they do?
Because they're bad.
That's pretty much all it is, isn't it? Like I know they kind of gloss over all these expository scenes quite quickly, and we are introduced to Ian Glenn as the main villain of the film around here. You remember him from Resident Evil.
Oh, he's shite.
Oh, I like him, but he is just talking about the cast. He is the one that feels the most like B-movie.
Someone dropped out a week before filming.
I can't remember what he does in this one. What does the bad guy do?
He just
I think I'm thinking of the second film. It's not Ian Glenn in that.
This is the one with the Illuminati, and he wants to get the key to open up that big planetary thing and then control time, I think. I literally watched this like 2 days ago. Yes. I barely remember anything of the actual plot. And we're quickly introduced to Daniel Craig, who is playing an American in this.
Really? Why didn't he do the accent?
Yeah.
Oh, ding dong.
Oh.
Oh, who's this? Oh, it's American Bond. Oh, yeehaw, it's me, American Bond. I learned to be American at the Hugh Laurie School of American Accents. Hugh Laurie's too good. Yeah.
I think your accent is too good for what Daniel Craig does in 2 movies.
My accent?
Yeah.
You mean American Bond's
American
accent?
Bond.
Oh, sorry, I mean American Bond's accent, yes.
I don't know if I even registered that it was an American accent. I thought he was just doing something kind of off-kilter.
No, he's
a bit
supposed
weird.
to be American. And he is kind of the Lara Croft boy, I suppose, of this film. But he doesn't really do all that much. I don't know what the film would lack if he wasn't there, apart from a couple of topless shots.
How many scenes is he even in? Because he dies really early on.
I assumed he'd be in more... Wait, sorry, what? He dies?
He dies really early
No,
on,
Daniel
doesn't he?
Craig.
Wait, doesn't he?
No.
Doesn't he get thrown into a pit of oil or something?
No.
See, I can't remember this film. It's only been like a week since I watched it.
Daniel Craig is there until the very end, and this is where I got confused with him and Gerard Butler in the next one, because I thought that Daniel Craig double-crossed Lara, and that the final fight in this film was actually with him and not Ian Glenn, but then he buggers off, but there's no, like, final wrap-up scene. It's like, in the middle of the action, she's like, off you go, help my mates out, and then he just doesn't appear for the rest of the ending. I'd assumed he'd be in some deleted scene, but I watched all of the ones that were on the extras on the DVD, and he wasn't in. Yeah, there was no extra end scene, just a scene of him gambling.
Do they get a sex scene, or is it cut short when she like handcuffs him to a bed or something and then runs off?
That's the second one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's
Gerard
definitely
Butler.
much more of a thing between her and Gerard Butler. Yeah. Does she have a thing with
Yeah.
Daniel Craig, or she just look at him after he comes out of the shower?
They just sort of flirt a bit, which is again why I assumed that there would be some kind of like Bond-esque ending scene where she gets to bed him or something, but no, just yeah, he's just. Off.
I did make a note when he was in the shower scene. I was thinking, like, he's already quite buff there. He's in good shape, yeah. So how come he looks fine in this film, but now when you see him in Bond, he looks like a gorilla that's been squeezed into a suit?
Well, you know,
Because they've changed the technology of beefing up's changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
And that sounds like I'm taking the piss, but I'm not. Like, they've genuinely, like, been fucking around with, like, science.
Genetics.
to do
They've
with-
been altering it at a genetic level.
It's to do with, like, not drinking water and all this shit. But,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like I say, you compare Wolverine in the first X-Men film, press materials with his shirt off, to compare that to him in Logan. It's absurd.
I think part of it is just that Daniel Craig's older now as well, and he's got that sort of that barrel torso like what Tom Cruise had in The Mummy.
Barrel.
You know, when but they become like barrels. There's something weird. I don't know if like your rib cage just like expands outwards as you get older or what, but anyway.
And there's some more Matrixy stuff here around the time he's introduced, just with Lara Croft wearing a leather jacket with sunglasses and the slow motion.
Oh, whenever she's got the sunglasses on, I was thinking, oh god. Yeah, it is very Matrix, isn't it?
Well, I was wondering if the sunglasses were from the game, because I know that like her signature thing was always
they
carrying
are.
2 guns and shooting 2 guns at once.
Yeah, and she has the thing where she can like reload just by clicking her guns behind her back, which I assume is a nod to the game.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I guess you just reload by like clicking off the screen or whatever. And then they do a lot of things where she just has things and then she puts them around her back and then they're in her bag, which I think again is like in games when you just have a bag full of like a million objects that you can access. I think there was some deliberate little nods to that, which I quite like.
When does Lara Croft get a letter from her dad?
It's very near the beginning, because then John Voight's in here.
I did think, I made a note when she gets the letter, she goes through the clock and she finds the hidden message, blah, blah, blah. She gets the letter from her dad. And the letter sort of explains everything that she needs to know. And bear in mind, this letter was written at least sort of 16 years before, because that's when he's gone missing / died, whatever happened to him. But in the letter, when he's reading it out, it says, "You must hurry, there isn't much time." But how could... This is written 16 years previously. What, is that just pathetic script writing, or was there some justification of it?
Well, they make a point of this whole planetary alignment thing happening like once every 5,000 years or something, and yet everything is like super down to the like second of it happening, and you'd think, yeah, you'd really plan this ahead, because people have apparently known about it for decades. You know, I think I may have mentioned this on the Mummy episode. You know how much I hate that when you put like a rock into a hole and then cogs start working and rocks start moving that have been dormant for thousands of years, and then it turns out to be this very complicated, like, mechanical thing. That happens a lot in this. And then
I have made a note along those lines that I cannot stand when the statues come to life and attack her.
I assume they're in the game, though.
Yeah,
I kind of assumed that was from the game.
The game's always sort of mixed mythology and magic with real archaeology and all that kind of stuff. So she was always like, she'd go looking for the lost city of Atlantis and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind so much if it kind of properly ramped up and became massively supernatural afterwards, but it's just this one element that's thrown in, other than obviously some like broad time travel stuff.
Yeah.
It just feels very out of place.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, if you know anything about planets, the whole setup is complete nonsense. But I'm willing to go with that. Like, I'm willing to just go, okay, we'll go. But statues just coming to life is too far for me.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with them coming to life if you're going to do an impressive action sequence with them. But they have this gigantic statue slowly, like, coming up and getting its weapons and all that kind of stuff, and she's slowly backing away from it. And it, like, swipes at her, like, twice and then falls over, and that's it. It's not a very impressive action sequence. To say that, obviously the CGI in this film is incredibly primitive, and some of the things do look quite poor, but the fact that they took the time to build them for all of, 90 seconds on screen is a bit pathetic. The thing with the dogs, because the whole temple around her is collapsing after she's had the final fight, and she comes across all these huskies, and then she just sort of rides them down this ice tunnel. All the while she's like going, yeah, woohoo, and smiling and all this kind of stuff, and it's just... that just feels like it must have been someone's note. Like, she has to look like she's having fun through the action scenes. Like, every now and then she'll be in the middle of a life or death action thing, but they'll just have a shot of her like smiling and like, great, as if she's having time for life.
I guarantee there was a cut of this film where that had Who Let the Dogs Out play that was tested.
Oh, quite possibly. That makes sense, because the music, again, just to talk about the score, the music over that sequence is just really just like droney, like techno dance beat. There's really nothing special about it. It was... Oh, by the way, you know that Leslie Phillips has some scenes earlier on, and he's like, it's implied that he's conspiring with the Illuminati or something, but he's actually secretly on Lara's side.
Yeah, I never quite figured that out, whose side he was on.
There's a 5-minute sequence on the deleted scenes where he meets with Ian Glenn at the Battersea Power Station, and there's all these shots of them moving around in shadows and having conversations and whatnot, and then at one point Ian Glenn tells him to get down on his knee, and he does, and then he chops off his head with a samurai sword. And it's just really strange to have Leslie Phillips in that kind of a scenario.
And he went, he's definitely a Slytherin, eh?
I thought there'd be more deleted scenes on the DVD, because this film just strikes me as something that's been cut down to shit, and scenes were probably filmed one of 4 different ways, and yeah. It very much feels of its time, in that certainly around the early 2000s there was a big move to, and I think, Saul, you've talked about this in other episodes, that movies should start emulating video games, because the kids like video games, and we need to get some of that into the movies. But as Saul, I think you might have talked about it in our Resident Evil episode, where games, certainly in those days, were just sort of aping movies. So Resident Evil was just the Dawn of the Dead series or whatever. So now...
Even Tomb Raider, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of it comes from Batman and
Indiana
things
Jones.
like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, Indiana Jones, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you have the movie version of the game version, which was a rip-off of movies anyway. Yeah, I don't know. This just struck me as something which had been like focus group to death, tested to death, and just cut into oblivion.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
This whole ending sequence, there's a very strange shot in which Ian Glenn and Angelina Jolie are both running up opposite sides of a pyramid together. And it's all kind of abstract, and then Ian Glenn starts falling into oblivion, and the effects are really bad. I have no idea what's going on, but whatever, because Angelina Jolie gets to go back in time by, 2 minutes and freeze it, and...
Well, she goes back 16 years to talk to her dad.
Oh, yes, she does, doesn't she?
And that's been, the thing that's tempting her, that she could get her dad back. And then she realises she doesn't need him back because she actually got quite a bad relationship with him and didn't see her for most of her childhood.
Just like real life.
So, yeah, there's some daddy issues going on in the film. What was Angelina Jolie and Jon Voight's relationship like at this point? Were they all right?
At this point, I believe it was good. I think it was afterwards that they had their big falling out. I mean, obviously they don't have any scenes directly with each other in this film.
They do, right at the end, where she goes back in time.
Yeah.
Is she there in the room with him?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, they interact. They're about to touch fingers or something, and then they don't. Or they do, and that sends him back.
But it could have been shot in that sort of sitcom way with a line down the screen, and that's why they never actually touched.
Yeah, they didn't actually tell her who'd been cast.
I don't know. I was checked out of this whole ending sequence. Is like the whole sort of dramatic tension is that she has to save Daniel Craig's character's life because he's been stabbed, and she goes back in time. But that whole relationship has meant absolutely nothing.
She saves him though.
Yeah.
She kills Ian Glenn.
Yeah.
Is that it?
So I guess none of us really liked the first film very much.
No, I liked it less on the rewatch than I did the first time I saw it. I bumped it down.
It was just nothing really. It was...
Yeah.
That was my feeling. Yeah. I thought I'd at least get some Resident Evil style, so bad it's good fun out of it, but it wasn't even that. Yeah, I mean, it was critically panned, wasn't it? And I don't think it made a whole lot of money compared to what the budget was. And this was around a time when I remember there was a real push for, female action stars with, this and Catwoman and Elektra. And none of them were terribly good because the films themselves were bad, not because of the casting of a lady.
Set the cause back about 15 years, though, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think if even just one of those had been good, then maybe we'd see a lot more. But yeah.
So the second film,
right? Yes, different director.
Yeah, this director is Jan de Bont, who made Speed.
Oh.
Okay.
Although
explain.
I'm just looking up. This is the last film he directed, but his CV is Speed, Twister, Speed 2, The Haunting, and Lara Croft: Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Light.
Ooh, The Haunting. Oof.
And
Ooh.
I don't know. He just retired after this film. Apparently, this was enough to pack it in.
Oh God. But like the guy who did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He'll never directed a film again.
So you know what I was saying before about Angelina Jolie?
Well, can you be more specific?
that I wasn't that into her in the last film.
Oh,
right.
I was distracted by how into her I was in this film. She needed 2 extra years on it.
She just became so much different.
Well, she looked really young in the first one, and she kind of
So that looks a bad
I
thing.
don't know, she aged out a bit in this one, but I'm not like you, Aaron. I like them to be of a reasonable age, and I don't know. I was distracted. I can't remember the last time I watched something, and I was in awe.
When did this watching this film come in your newly single lifestyle? Was it quite early on?
Fairly, but I mean, it took me back to so was the first one, and I was watching it yeah. This reminded me of why I was so into Angelina Jolie back then. I think it was just I wasn't into her in the first Tomb Raider, but I was in 2003 onwards.
It is a remarkable difference. I think if you'd have just shown me the films and not told me the dates, I would have guessed that there'd been 7 years between them or something like that. Just even in how they're shot, how they're edited, this feels like a proper film and not something that's trying to chase video game addicted youths.
I'm not entirely convinced I even watched this film because I can't remember anything about it. I've made 2 notes. I can tell you what they are if you like, and we can move on. My first one is, I don't think this would be considered responsible archaeological research.
That'll be the rock slide at the start. My note about that is stupid fucking opening with a rock slide or something, though. Are we meant to be impressed by that shit?
And then my last note is, I know this is the first 10 minutes, but I've already stopped concentrating. Did those nice Greek boys die?
Nice Greek boys.
That she was hanging out with these nice Greek boys and then they just disappeared.
Yeah, they get killed.
Oh. That was obviously where I tuned out, so I didn't know nothing after that.
My second note is, this one is just generally a bit better put together so far.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of sums up my thoughts on this film compared to the first, really. It's just generally better crafted, and the fact that it's the guy who directed Speed makes that make so much sense to me. I think it had a bigger budget watching it.
Smaller, apparently. I think
really?
10 million less or something, which I was astonished when I saw.
That's remarkable.
I think I think you're right, because I think this is much more competently shot and edited and put together and makes sense, all that kind of stuff. And yet it's somehow slightly less remarkable than the first one, or more less memorable, I should say.
I guess. I think this film really is just set piece after set piece. But I think that's what this needs to be. There's no particularly dull moments from what I remember. Like, it's just a load of nonsense action scenes, but they're kind of all relatively solid. Not amazing.
The only thing that I could remember from this, because I remember seeing it, I think on TV when I was much younger, she punches a growling shark and then rides it to the surface. Yeah. That was... I remember, the timing of it. I remembered everything. It's, imprinted in my mind, that bit. Just how ridiculous it is.
Well, that's not a million miles away from something you'd see in a Bond film, is it?
James Bond has never punched a shark and then ridden it.
No, maybe he wouldn't ride it, but absolutely they could make if this hadn't already done it, if they had the technology back in the day as well, before James Bond got all serious, there could have been a James Bond film where he's swimming underwater and a shark comes up to him and he punches it on the nose and it swims away.
Shark with a laser.
And then he gets out and he's like, only with an open hand.
And Thunderball, they just shoot him with harpoons, don't they?
Yes.
You remember?
Yeah.
But it's the fact that the shark's growling as well as it comes nearer and it's opening its mouth and being like...
It's a well-known myth, though, isn't it? That if a shark comes at you, you just have to stand your ground and punch it.
Oh. Is that a good idea?
I don't think so, but it's something people will tell you.
I think there is some sort of scientific logic behind it, because they've got these electrical receptors that they use to running down their body that they use to detect things, and so if you just whack them, it overstimulates them, and it really dazes them.
And the idea is obviously no fish that they're chasing is ever going to turn around and smack them. Yeah. It's not something they're used to dealing with. But obviously trying to punch underwater is not exactly...
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can't you?
So they brought back Chris Barry and Noah Taylor as their assistants. Now, as much as we talked about in the first film how they just have no real banter and the script lets them down, I feel like even more so here, they just don't really do much, and I don't feel like they're ever even expected to be terribly funny.
I feel like they have more purpose in this film from a plot point of view. They're kind of backing her up as she's out and about. Once again, it could have easily just been one of them. But I agree, they don't really have any opportunity to steal a scene or whatever.
It's a shame because they're both very good actors. So
the MacGuffin in this one is Pandora's box.
Yes.
And that is an amazing MacGuffin choice for this kind of film, I think.
It's very Indiana Jones, isn't it?
Yeah.
And why does the villain want it? The villain wants it because Kieran Hines is the villain in this one, and he develops viruses, Ebola and such, and he wants Pandora's box to sell it? Is that all?
I don't know, it never really makes any sense, because the whole point of Pandora's box is that it's already been opened and we're already dealing with the contents of it that have infected the world, and that's why we have bad stuff in the world.
He makes a point of, it's a bit of a Samuel Jackson and Kingsman plan about eradicating the world population, but not necessarily for environmental reasons or any reason really. I just think he just doesn't like poor people and he just wants him and his 1% mates to run the world. But obviously that wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah, who'd clean the telephones?
I've made a note that Angelina Jolie's performance is better in this one as well. She just seems a lot more comfortable and like dominant, I guess, to a point.
Yeah,
just,
definitely.
Willing to dominate a scene and be the character she's meant to be.
This felt like the Angelina Jolie that I know of today. The first one did feel like she was a teenager, really, and there's only 2 years difference. But yeah, I guess she did a lot of growing up in that time. So we've got Gerard Butler in this one.
Yeah. So where was Gerard Butler at this stage of his career? What was he doing?
That's what I was.
I don't think he was much of a known entity, was he?
Let's have a look. 300 was what made him a known entity, wasn't it? Is it before
that?
Yeah,
that was much later on.
300 is 2006. So yeah. Phantom of the Opera.
I think this is kind of his foot in the door to Hollywood.
So it looks like that way, looking at his...
I think the dynamic between him and Lara Croft is a lot more interesting than anything in the first film. I think they've actually attempted to give him a bit of personality.
Gerard Butler seems alright for this. He's a nice bit of rough.
He's scary.
Scary? Do you find him intimidating, Saul?
Yeah, with that big Scottish accent.
Okay.
My note here is that this film is the sort of nonsense James Bond tries to be, but it's largely done better and the lead character isn't a prick.
You think that this is better than a lot of Bond films that you've seen?
Oh, absolutely. This is better than a lot of Bond films I've seen, yeah.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Oh, well, there we go. So there's a bit later on when there's all these mystical creatures coming and eating soldiers and stuff, and a guy pisses himself. And there's just a very quick shot of him wetting himself. That felt out of place. That was weird and icky.
I mean, the monsters feel out of place too, to be honest. But again, it's that sort of thing of we're going to throw some supernatural stuff in at the very end, and I think they're quite cool.
Are they killing people because they move?
Yes.
Yes, I remember this happening. These big monsters that come out of the earth or something.
Oh,
they're like from shadows or something, or the tree, like wood.
Because they're guarding the cradle of life itself. And yeah.
It feels like the last level in a video game when they'll throw in the supernatural monster for you to fight.
And it's like the scene in Aliens where all the Marines go in and then they all start getting picked off. I thought they were going to do something cool because they have some interesting camera angles in when the characters are in the cradle of life at the end. There's a couple of interesting shots where it looks like perspectives are being sort of warped, and I thought they were going to do something quite cool, and like gravity was distorted in this cave or something, and we were going to get some really interesting fight sequence, but we didn't in the end.
It's bright for nighttime as well, isn't it?
Yeah, in a cave with no light. Yes, it's...
I much prefer the second one, personally. I think it's far more of a competent film. It's not like great or anything. It's not even good, but I could sit through it without wanting to like kill myself.
That's a strange sort of effect that I came out of it with. Like, well, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Like, it's so like on the line of I don't even say it's good. It's just it's passable as entertainment.
It's slap bang in the middle. It's like the least. It's just like the most average film ever made.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, it was definitely on, and I was in the room.
Do you remember when she kills Gerard Butler at the end? That was sad. Well, in context.
Because she's like, okay, great, we saved the day, and he's like, right, shall we take this scary thing then that we're trying to stop? And she's like, no. He's like, yeah, we're taking it. And she has to kill him.
Yes. For some reason, people are quite desperate to open that box.
Yeah.
Even though they all know bad things will come out of it.
Yeah, and they're like going to be ground zero for it as well. Like, there's no way they're getting out alive if they open it up.
So, does anything else happen in the world of Tomb Raider between then and now?
Well, there was
the games were rebooted. Yeah, the games carried on for a bit. It kind of died off. then they sort of rebooted the whole series with a very narrative-driven game, I think, to open, and it was written by the daughter of Terry Pratchett, but I don't know what her name is. Miss Ms. Pratchett. Did you guys know anything about this?
Yeah. No, I'm very much aware of the games were rebooted, and as far as I'm aware, that's the game that the most recent film is taking its inspiration from. Certainly, by the looks on the poster, it's like similar costume and all that kind of stuff. And they've cast Alicia Vikander, I believe her name is.
It was meant to be very good as well. I should add, that game and its subsequent sequel as well, I think, were meant to be really good. Have you seen the trailer for the new film?
No, actually.
No.
It really does look like a film of a game.
Huh.
And not in particularly a good way. Because I thought this might be, it's enough of a franchise, we've moved on enough now that you can just kind of do a serious film version of this property, do a decent job of it. I don't think that's what this is going to be. It looked like, like Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, if they'd made that without the humour.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of. It just looks very just...
Well, I did actually work on this film for a couple of days.
Oh.
Yeah, so I saw them shooting a little scene in the streets of London. And I must say, I was watching this girl, she was obviously the main person. What really struck me, though, was how small she was. She's fairly short. I mean, not unusually short, but she's just small. She's a skinny little rake, which
it never stopped Tom Cruise from being an action movie guy.
Tom Cruise is quite buff. He's 5'8" or whatever.
Yeah, but he's short. He's a tiny little man.
Yeah, but my point is for this character, I don't think her height is particularly the issue. She's just really skinny, and it's just, I don't know. It's just she needs to have a bit more force behind her. Surely it didn't look right for what I was thinking of Lara Croft, which I guess is Angelina Jolie.
Well, Lara Croft's not big and strong. I think she's. But
it is the action film. Ultimately, you've got to be action.
Yeah,
she doesn't look athletic. She looks like a model.
Well, I think that's what Lara Croft is. Yeah. And plus, this is supposed to be like a sort of origin story, as far as I'm aware. Like, this is the first mission.
They've got Dominic West as Lord Richard Croft. I presume he's the dad.
Oh God! Dominic West is playing fathers already.
Well, maybe it's like if he's dead in this one as well. Maybe it's from when she's younger, like a flashback.
Ah, yes, that would make sense.
But he is nearly 50, so He's also a shit actor, so it's not a good sign, I don't think.
But I do actually have some hopes for this. I think it could be a fairly decent video game adaptation.
I'm not convinced after the trailer, but I mean, every few years there's a film like this, and it always seems, this is finally going to be the one where they kind of make a decent film out of a game for the first time, and then every few years we're all disappointed because it isn't. I
believe that whatchamacallit, with Michael Fassbender, Assassin's Creed was sort of being bigged up as like, all these amazing people involved, and Ridley Scott and all this, and then apparently it was no good. I've not seen it. Shall we rate the films? We haven't done ratings yet.
If you want.
Sure, yeah.
Right. For the first one I would give it a 3. And the second one gets a 5.
I gave the first one a 5. And the second one a 4.
Oh.
I do 4 for the first one, and then 5 for the second one.
Okay then. Well, we're all more or less around the same ballpark then, I guess.
High caliber films.
Well, the games are regarded as all-time classics. They're regarded as some of the best games ever made. So,
and I think Lara Croft as a character's up there with like Sonic, Mario.
She's up there, but B-list, I'd say.
B-list
compared to Sonic and Mario and Pikachu, yeah. She's more of a she's more on par with like maybe Donkey Kong,
Crash Bandicoot.
She's probably above Crash Bandicoot, but yeah. Spyro the Dragon,
Link,
even, yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
No, I know games. I don't know what game he's in, but some of the most unremarkable films we've ever done on this podcast.
I was hoping Calvin was going to come in guns blazing, either like absolutely loving them or hating them, because it could have gone either way.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought I'd probably quite like the first one when I was going into it. Like, well, normally I rent films when we're looking at them, but I thought, I bet I'm going to like Tomb Raider. So I bought the Blu-rays cheap, and I didn't like them, so I'm going to sell them.
Well, I suppose this is about as good a place as any for the music quiz.
Okay, what sort of music quiz?
Well, Tomb Raider is obviously a video game series, primarily. These are films based on video games.
Yeah.
So what I've done here is I have gone and looked up the reverse, I suppose, really. A whole load of games based on films. And I'm going to play music from games based on films, and then you have to guess what the film was that the game was based on, if that makes sense. So basically it's a whole load of movie themes, but like rendered on a SNES.
Fabulous.
All right, yeah.
Brilliant. How should we do this? Should we just shout out the right answer when we got it, or should we buzz?
I don't think turns are a good idea, because I think I'm going to...
Yeah, you're going to want to buzz. I think you'll be alright, Alan. I think you'll be as good as Calvin, because the video game element shouldn't be too much of a distraction, really.
Okay. Right. Alan, what does your buzzer sound like?
Okay.
Alright. Mine's...
Yeah, I guess we will jump right in.
I got it.
Hello?
Ghostbusters.
Yes, that was very good. Yes.
Wow, well done, Alan. Well deserved.
1 point to Alan for getting that almost immediately. I'll play
Easy.
the rest of that just so we can get to the next clip.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Wow. Oh, now I can get it. Yeah.
Anyway, now this next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Yes.
I was at that point where I was like, oh, I know what this is. I was just, it was on the tip of my tongue, so to speak.
So the rest of that.
It sounds the actual stuff.
Yeah, that's where my mind was at first. That's a theme that hardly anyone, recognises or remembers, but it's so synonymous with Back to the Future. It's come up quite a lot, actually, in this past couple of months. I've had to identify it for people.
I probably wouldn't have got that if we hadn't watched the film.
Okay, well, this next one, Calvin, you might get it. Alan, you probably won't, actually, but let's see how it goes.
Pokemon.
Oh no, I know this! Oh, I've got it! Ruff, 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 ruff.
Yep.
Lion King.
Yes. Well done.
Is it?
It is. It's obviously not like the main theme, but it's a bit of rather iconic score from the Lion King, yeah. Right, next one.
Fair enough.
I think that was pretty much the same time there.
I'll let Alan answer it.
GoldenEye.
Yeah, it's GoldenEye 64, that game.
Yes!
Obviously James Bond, yeah.
I knew it was GoldenEye as well, because that's the good game, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, this next one's going to be a bit tricky, but I'll play the rest of that GoldenEye clip first. Okay.
I don't think I have any idea what this is.
No?
No
Alan?
clue.
Indiana Jones?
No.
That's just a talk.
It's quite an obscure one, this, really, in the grand scheme of movie themes, but it's one of my favourite movie themes. I think it's great. It's Godzilla, actually, the original 1954 Gojira.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have got that.
No.
Yeah. Next one.
Oh, ruff, ruff, ruff. Aladdin.
It is Aladdin.
Oh.
That is a rendition of Prince
Prince
Ali.
Ali. Da, 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 da. Are you gonna love this guy?
Prince Ali,
fabulous
Ali,
Ali,
Wah,
wah, wah. Da, 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 da. 100 bad guys with swords. Prince Ali. Da, 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 dee, da, 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 da.
Did you ever play that Aladdin game?
Oh yeah. That and the Lion King for the
Yeah.
Sega Mega Drive were like
They were like
staples.
really good games. Like video games based on films used to have a lot of effort put into them. It seems. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really tough as well.
Right, this next one is a bit tough. Alan, you should be able
Okay.
to get this. I'm not sure about you, Calvin, but we'll see.
Sex in the City.
That one makes me so happy.
That bit that goes ding 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 ding. That rings a bell, but I can't.
Again, it's a very underrated film score, this. I mean, it's a fairly iconic theme, but it's obviously not a Star Wars or a Jaws or anything. That's the theme from RoboCop, as rendered in a RoboCop video game.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Yes, Alan?
That's Jungle Book.
Damn it!
That is the Jungle
It's the
Book.
Jungle VIP.
Oh, it literally just came to me as you meowed. That's what's been bothering me. I wanna walk like you, talk like you.
Right, we're ready for this next one.
Yep.
Yes, Alan?
It's Gay Bar by Electric Six.
It is. It's Gay Bar by Electric Six, which obviously isn't a film score, but... Oh, shucks, you know me. Alright, next one.
Labyrinth.
That is Labyrinth from.
I got a little bit as a David Bowie song, and I had to like play it out to figure out what it was. Of course, it's a Labyrinth.
That is from the weird PC Labyrinth game. Yes. Slime and snails, puffy duck's tails. All right, Alan is winning by 1 point, but Calvin, you might get it back now. So let's see how this goes. That's Alan.
Damn you!
Indiana Jones.
That is Indiana Jones.
Yes, I was doubting myself then. I thought it's really obvious, and then it's going to be like something else.
Oh, right, let's hear the rest of that.
Om nom shabbai.
Okay, Alan, you are winning by 2 points, but once again, this is skewed towards you, Calvin, so let's see how you do.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes? Calvin?
Oh, wait, 1 sec. No, wait, 1 sec.
I know it now. I know it immediately.
Halloween.
Yes,
Oh,
I'll
it's
give you that,
Halloween.
yeah.
I got
Jesus.
that.
It's Halloween.
I think I should lose points there.
It's supposed to be a terrible video game, apparently.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
just like, has Halloween slapped on the front of the box, but it doesn't really actually have much to do with it.
Well, much like most of the films in that franchise.
Calvin, you're behind by 1 point. This one is skewered towards you again, but Alan, it is very, very easy, this. So
Bring it.
Let's hear. Yes, Calvin, I think.
Power Rangers!
Yes. I particularly like this one because the sort of sound clip of the vocals cuts off too soon, so there's no S on the end, as you'll hear.
Wow. Oof, okay, phew.
You got 2 more
Well,
now. You're neck and neck, so I mean, we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Oh, ruff, 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 ruff.
Alan, I think that was you.
Damn it.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
That is the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There was never a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly video game, as far as I know. This is just something someone threw together online, but I really like it. So
It's a trick question. It doesn't count as a point.
It is a trick question. There's been a few of them.
This is horrible.
Oh, it's haunted. It's a haunted, beautiful, haunted melody. You think that's horrible? I've saved the best till last. This is...
Oh, God.
I'm playing this because this is so fucking hilariously awful. It sounds like the 90s internet dial-up modem, like, as music. So, yeah, let's
Okay. Ruff, 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 ruff. Oh.
Hang on, I'm just hesitating.
Oh.
What is it? I recognise it and I can't put a name
I
on
know
it.
it. I know it.
Four,
Hang on, you gave him Halloween. Give me
3,
like 25 seconds.
2.
Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills Cop.
Just in time, yeah, no, that.
Oh.
Beverly Hills
Oh,
Cop.
that saved me from embarrassment. I was going to say Crazy Frog.
Oh, God. No, let's just bask in the awfulness that is the rest of this clip, because it is truly horrible and it is the funniest thing.
Sounds like an ice cream van version of it.
What one was this
That is a modem dial.
love it.
It's horrible.
It is. It's so shit. It is unbelievable how bad that is. Like, anyway, Alan, you won by 2 points.
Woo!
Hooray!
I was thinking about Tomb Raider. It does sound a bit aggressive, doesn't it? Raiding tombs.
Well, it's pretty much what Indiana Jones does.
I know, but they at least don't call him a Tomb Raider.
Well, it makes sense for a video game more, I think, because it is just like run in, shoot the animals there, steal the item at the end of the level, get out.
There is an astonishing amount of animal cruelty in some, like especially in the Tomb Raider 2. I remember the first level is these Bengal tigers or whatever they are, like running out at you, and you've just got to like put them down pretty much, and they just keep coming.
Yeah, just shoot them.
And they take some bullets, them tigers. Spent ages trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, in real life, if you shoot a bear, how many times do you have to shoot it before it goes down?
Depends where, I suppose.
How big your gun is.
So when it comes to a Lara Croft film, I think it all basically comes down to what is the MacGuffin that she's going to be going after. So can either of you think of any interesting MacGuffins? I bet there's something in, like, because mind always goes to, like, Christianity and, Old Testament.
There's a town there where my mum lives, and every year they do, like, a thing called the crowning of the thorn or something, because they... Basically, the crown of thorns that was put on Jesus, they reckon someone took that back to their little English village and planted a little tree with it, so they do a celebration every year, and I think it's very dubious. I'm not convinced that it's legit, but maybe Lara Croft could go and investigate.
How about the half-eaten apple that Eve ate from the tree of the Eden garden thing?
Tree of knowledge. Yeah.
And at the end, Lara Croft has to battle a giant talking snake. That's our big boss. I'm not sure quite what you'd get out of finding the apple that Eve bit into in the Garden of Eden.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And you need to have a kind of up-and-coming British sort of rough 30-year-old man as a sort of pseudo love interest. Who's on that? Who's on that list right now? If we're going to do it now, who's the Daniel Craig Gerard Butler?
James Norton.
Who's James Norton
from Happy Valley? I think he'd make a fabulous Bond.
What's Happy Valley? I'm going to look him up because I don't know.
It's a very good TV show, actually, and you'd probably like it. It's basically Fargo, but in the north, so it's all like in Halifax and stuff. And
oh, really?
They would have to bring back Noah Taylor and Chris Barry, surely.
I'm a big fan of that. I think we should
for a cameo.
We need to create something where Chris Barry gets to do all his voices. So he probably has to go undercover. He has to go undercover as like 1980s politicians. That's what he can do.
Was he ever on Spitting Image?
That's where he came up. Yeah,
was he? Yeah.
And Noah Taylor can just be the gadget guy.
I'm fine with James Norton being like the Croft boy of the film, but I would quite like her to go full on Bond and just sleep around a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, that would be. I think we're. Let's just do a female Bond. Fuck it.
Yeah. No, I think Bond crossed with Indiana Jones, basically what Lara Croft is.
Yeah.
So who would you cast as Lara Croft?
Oh, I'd get Angelina Jolie back to do another one. I think, especially now that she's a little bit older as well, I think, Saul, you've made a point in other episodes of liking older versions of characters coming back, 10, 20 years on. I think you could do that. So
you'll be in the same continuity then as the other two films for you.
Yeah, you got Chris Barry back. And it could be like old Batman where her knees have gone and she can't really do stuff anymore.
I don't know, I feel like a character has to be a big enough deal for you to want to start exploring them as an old person, and obviously Lara Croft's a big deal, but there's only 2 films so far. I feel like you need to get a few films in before that's really, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd recast, but I can't think of anyone.
I think she has to get an egg. It's like a magic egg.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, I like that.
Like a big egg, like of a phoenix egg, right?
It's a golden goose egg.
Yeah, something like that. But then she has to run around with it, but obviously she has to protect it. And so
like the baby,
they have to put it in like
a Jackie Chan
blanket
film.
Yes. And then he walks off a building and onto some scaffolding and then falls down. So that would be good, because then you've got a different threat then that the thing might get damaged and they have to protect it. And they could have some good comedy bits with that.
And if we cast Angelina Jolie, and as she is now, and she's sort of like coming up to the menopause and all that kind of thing, and she's not had children, we can draw some parallels
She's
here.
42.
Some women can go through it early, you know.
Can the egg be like little feet hatching, but the shell's still on, so the egg's like running around like in a cartoon.
Yeah,
So
like in the...
and she has to chase it.
But have you guys seen Dark Star?
No.
Oh, the John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the alien creature in that is basically a beach ball with like these little feet on it.
Yeah.
And it just
It
runs
is
around
brilliant.
and causes mischief. And I think that's it. What about... Oh, I've got it. Right. What about... Near the end, right, the egg hatches and it's Howard the Duck.
Oh, yes.
And then we tie it in to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Brilliant. I'm the studio executive, and I'm buying this idea. That's brilliant.
Who are we casting as Lara then? I think it's time for a black Lara Croft, actually.
Ooh.
Lupita Nyong'o?
No, she's weird looking.
What?
She's the minion, isn't she?
Yeah.
That's not what she actually looks like, though. That's just her voice.
She's freaking beautiful.
I tell you what, Lupita Nyong'o might be a good shout there. Actually, she's a bit short, but we can manage that. But no, if we're rebooting, we need new. Who's the new Chris Barry?
James Corden.
Oh, damn it. He was what came to my mind as well, and I didn't want to say it.
What about you have him and the other one? They did the sketch show together.
God, Matthew Horn.
Yeah, he's the tech guy.
Yeah, you're right. Matthew Horn's the new Chris Barry because his career now took off in the same way as. Yeah.
But then James Corden can be the butler, and then Matthew Horn's the tech guy.
God, dreadful.
So who's the bad guy then in this new imagining?
I think they're younger. I think, she's often going up against these, Kieran Hines, Ian Glenn, they're all like 40, 50-something.
Okay, who else has played a bad guy in Resident Evil? I think that's the level we need to be aiming at.
Mila Jovovich, just get her in as the villain.
Oh, that'd be good, actually.
She should transition into being a bad guy.
She'd be a good bad guy.
Yeah, I think she'd do really well.
And especially if you do it about this whole Garden of Eden thing, you make it about Eve, and you can have this whole feminist thing around it. This is great. This is really coming.
We just need to get the egg in there as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the egg. Shit,
the Eden egg, the egg of Eden.
Yeah,
maybe the egg could be like your opening scene to set up the thing. Like you just see her like running away from finishing off the previous adventure. She has to protect this egg, and then it it rolls off a cliff, and she has to base jump off and catch it. And yeah,
I really think Mila Jovovich would make a very good to have both kinds of action women pitted against each other. I think that'd be quite good.
Yeah, they'd have a big face off near the end, where they're hand to hand combat.
That'd be great. We can get Paul W.S. Anderson to direct.
No, he'll have them wrestling in oil at the end.
in spaghetti. What? So does Mila Jovovich eat the apple and turn into a giant snake?
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Yep, that's it. That's the finale.
So it is just like an apple that hasn't browned, hasn't gone off.
Yeah. If it was made by God, I wouldn't expect it to.
All apples are made by God, Calvin.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Why does God let apples go off?
It's just a fruit, isn't it? But then artists tend to depict it as an apple. Is that right?
I don't think it's specified, no.
So we can depict some sort of crazy fruit.
People like avocados these days. If we want to appeal to millennials, millennials love avocados.
People love avocados these days. Yeah, very, very.
They do. I mention avocados in my Tinder profile.
That's a good shout.
God,
they fucking love it.
They do love the avocados.
Lapping it up.
And she's Lara Croft in our film is going to sleep around a lot because why not?
As a power dynamic thing.
Not just. Maybe once or twice as a power dynamic. Maybe once or twice just because
bit of titillation.
Yeah, she fancies it.
Yeah. But James Norton is going to be the main Croft boy.
Has he got a nice arse? Can we get a good shower shot of him?
Oh, yes, we'll definitely get that, yeah. And there's going to be some good feminist underscorings in a Ripley and Newt sort of way from Aliens. Yeah, right, Mr. Executive, what do you say?
Well, kids, I love your pitch, and I'm gonna give you $100 million to make it a reality.
Oh, thank you,
Can you
Mr.
stop wanking into the plant pot, please? It's good work, though. I think we're on a winner here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah, we should come up with something more ridiculous.
Well, if you want to know when, because I didn't know if we were going to be doing a group pitch or individual pitches. My individual pitch was going to be a sort of a 127 hours style film where Michael Caine is a butler who Lara Croft is trapped in a fridge. He has to chew his whole arm off to
that
get
would be
out.
brilliant. That would be brilliant. Everyone our age has those fond memories of the butler being locked in the fridge. That,
right.
Even me, who never played the fucking thing, knows all about that. And
We need to just drop that sort of reference into our film, though. Get Chris Barry trapped in the fridge, or James Corden gets trapped in the fridge because he can't stay out.
Yeah. But at the very start of the film, he goes to get something, and then they rush out, and the door closes, and he's like, "Guys!" And then at the very end of the film, you just cut back to him preparing to
teeth chattering,
chop a lump of his own flesh off to eat it because he's hungry. Or
smashing
something.
the door handle with a black pudding.
Oh, brilliant.
Patrick Stewart comes on and calls him fat.
Oh god, yeah. Oh, can this be the film? James Corden is Lara Croft's butler, but he's not very good, and he gets sent to Butler Academy or something, or for a checkup. And Patrick Stewart's the head butler.
Patrick
at
Stewart,
Butler
Ian
Academy.
McKellen,
and he doesn't
Jacobi.
take kindly to this tearaway student who's doesn't have his shirt tucked in to cover up his belly. I can see your belly. And then they get locked in the fridge and have to come to terms with each other's way of living.
The whole film
over 90 minutes
is set in a fridge.
Yeah.
They're counselling each other.
15 minutes at the start, setting it up, and then they're in the fridge.
This is Oscar material. This is like Castaway,
Yeah.
when one person has to carry the whole film. James Corden became played by a volleyball. And Patrick Stewart doesn't realise it's not James Corden. He's just talking to her for an hour and a half.
But then at the end, you cut to James Corden in another room, and he's been talking to an egg for the last hour and a half, thinking it was Patrick Stewart.
Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this show, then we have many more for you, my friend, and they are all available at our website, dimreturns.com. You can also check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Diminishing Returns Podcast, where you can chat to us directly and talk about the films that we discuss. Until next time.